Hey there, deep divers. We are always like keeping our finger on the pulse of what's happening online.
Yeah.
And you've all probably been hearing about this whole TikTok ban situation in the U.S.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Seems like it's been a long time coming, but it's really starting to heat up now.
Definitely.
But, what's interesting is there's this other app, RedNote, that's kind of exploding in popularity. And a lot of TikTok users seem to be jumping ship, and we're kind of like, what's the deal with this RedNote thing?
Yeah.
Is this just like a temporary thing for TikTok refugees, or could RedNote be like the next big thing in social media?
That's a great question.
So that's exactly what we are going to be diving into today.
Cool.
We've got articles, research reports, even some firsthand accounts, just to help us unpack this whole RedNote thing.
Okay, so what's fascinating about this whole situation is that RedNote isn't like some brand new app.
Right.
It's been around in China for a while,
Oh, really?
Yeah, mainly known for shopping and product reviews. Oh. Kind of like a social commerce hub. But now it's evolving into something much bigger, a growing emphasis on these like short form videos.
Interesting. So kind of like TikTok.
Yeah, very much like TikTok.
Okay, so before we get into this whole RedNote craze, let's just quickly recap why TikTok is facing a ban in the first place.
Right.
Can you help us understand those concerns?
Well, the U.S. government has expressed concerns about data privacy and national security.
Yeah.
They're worried about TikTok's parent company ByteDance, which is Chinese, and what they might be doing with all that user data they're collecting.
Yeah.
So the big question mark is whether ByteDance will be willing to sell TikTok to a U.S. owner to avoid the ban.
That's a good point. And it's a pretty high-stakes gamble for ByteDance, huh?
Yeah.
If they don't sell and the ban goes through,
Yeah.
TikTok could vanish from U.S. app stores.
Right.
And even for existing users,
Right.
the app might stop working properly,
Right.
Without updates.
For sure.
So you can see why TikTokers are looking for alternatives.
Yeah.
And RedNote seems to be right there waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
But what makes it so appealing? It's not just the ban, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
RedNote actually has some features that are making it stand out even beyond just being a potential TikTok replacement.
Okay.
What's really interesting is how they blend social media with e-commerce so seamlessly.
Interesting.
So imagine you're scrolling through short videos and you see something you love. You can actually buy it right there within the app.
Wow.
Through their integrated e-commerce platform.
Huh. That's interesting.
That's something that TikTok is still trying to figure out.
So they're already a step ahead in the social commerce game.
Definitely.
But how does it stack up against TikTok in terms of the user experience?
Well, RedNote's growth in China during the pandemic actually kind of mirrors TikTok's trajectory here in the U.S. It was this perfect storm,
Yeah.
People were stuck at home looking for ways to connect and be entertained.
Right.
And RedNote provided that outlet much like TikTok did in the U.S.
So it's familiar.
Yeah, it's familiar.
But it goes beyond just mimicking TikTok, right?
Absolutely, it does.
I mean, even the name RedNote itself is intriguing.
Yeah.
We know that the Chinese name, Xiaohongshu, translates to Little Red Book,
Right.
which has some interesting baggage.
The name Little Red Book carries a lot of weight in China. It was originally like a collection of sayings by Chairman Mao Zedong, distributed during the Cultural Revolution.
Oh, wow.
So there's like this cultural and historical significance tied to the branding.
Interesting.
It's almost like they're reclaiming that phrase for a new digitally savvy generation.
That adds a whole other layer to this story.
Yeah.
It's like they're tapping into this sense of cultural identity
Yeah.
while also offering this fresh, modern platform.
Uh-huh.
But we got to talk about this mass migration we're seeing.
Yeah.
This hashtag TikTok refugees trending all over social media.
Right.
You have these TikTok creators with massive followings actively encouraging their fans to make the switch to RedNote.
I've seen that.
What do you think is the main force behind this? Is it just the fear of the ban?
It's definitely a factor, but there's more to it than that.
Okay.
Some users are genuinely drawn to RedNote's unique features,
Yeah.
The social commerce aspect is a big draw, especially for younger users who are comfortable shopping online.
Yeah.
And then there's the cultural aspect. RedNote has this distinctly Chinese vibe,
Right.
which some users find refreshing compared to more westernized platforms like Instagram or YouTube.
So they're craving something different.
Yeah.
Something that reflects their cultural identity and values.
Yeah,
And it seems like RedNote is hitting that sweet spot.
they are.
But, this raises a question.
Yeah.
Is this exodus to RedNote a temporary thing? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a major power shift in the social media landscape?
It's definitely too early to tell for sure.
Yeah.
But what's undeniable is that this whole situation highlights like the constantly shifting sands of the social media world.
Right.
You know, user preferences evolve, new platforms emerge, and sometimes seemingly overnight, the entire landscape can just change.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating, right?
Exactly.
We're not just talking about which app is better.
No.
We're talking about the future of online culture.
Yeah.
How we connect with each other, how we consume information.
Absolutely.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at the potential TikTok ban itself.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because understanding the intricacies of that ban and its potential ramifications will give us a clearer picture of what's at stake here.
I agree.
Okay. Deep divers, buckle up. Things are about to get really interesting.
They are.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors with part 2 of this deep dive into RedNote.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive into this whole RedNote phenomenon.
So right before the break, we were talking about how RedNote is really positioning itself as like the alternative for TikTokers.
Right.
Who are worried about this potential ban here in the U.S.
Yeah.
But this isn't TikTok's first like brush with controversy, is it?
Not at all. TikTok has had a pretty like complicated relationship with the U.S. government for a while now.
Yeah.
You know, remember back in 2020 when the Trump administration threatened to ban the app?
Well,
they even tried to force a sale to a U.S. company.
Yeah, that whole saga with Oracle and Microsoft trying to buy TikTok was wild.
It was.
It felt like the whole world was watching to see what would happen.
Exactly. And ultimately, the deal fell through.
Yeah.
And TikTok survived, at least for a while. But this time around, the pressure seems more intense, wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely. This January 19th deadline is looming large.
Yeah.
And there's a real sense of urgency this time.
For sure.
So for TikTokers who are worried about losing their platform, RedNote is starting to look pretty appealing.
It is.
Especially since it seems like they've really cracked the code on this short-form video content.
Right.
Which is really what made TikTok so popular in the first place.
Exactly.
It's interesting how RedNote actually started out as a shopping platform, though.
It was all about product reviews and recommendations.
Like a social shopping experience.
Precisely like a blend of Instagram and Pinterest.
Okay.
But with a dash of Amazon reviews thrown in.
Interesting.
And then during the pandemic, RedNote saw this massive surge in users in China. And that's when they started incorporating more short-form videos into their platform.
So it's almost like they saw what was happening with TikTok and thought, hey, we can do that too.
In a way, yeah. And now with TikTok facing a potential ban in the U.S., RedNote is perfectly positioned to capitalize on that demand.
It's like it was tailor-made to be the TikTok alternative.
In many ways, it is. Yeah, it has that familiar interface, you know, that focus on short, engaging videos. And it's already proven to be incredibly successful in a massive market like China.
Right.
They have the experience and the infrastructure to handle a large influx of users.
So let's say, hypothetically, TikTok does get banned in the U.S.
Yeah, okay.
Do you think RedNote will just automatically become like the new king of short-form video?
It's definitely not a guaranteed win for RedNote.
Okay.
While they have a lot of momentum right now, there are some potential hurdles they'll have to overcome.
Like what? Give us the inside scoop.
Well, for one thing, user loyalty can be a fickle beast.
Yeah.
Just because TikTok users are looking for alternatives doesn't mean they'll automatically embrace RedNote wholeheartedly.
Right.
You know, they might try it out, but will they stick around?
Right.
Will they be able to build the same kind of community and engagement that they had on TikTok?
That's a good point.
Those are big questions.
People get attached to their social media platforms.
They do.
It's not always easy to just switch over and start fresh.
Exactly. And then there's the competition.
Oh, right.
You know, we can't forget about the U.S.-based platforms that are also vying for TikTok's audience.
Right. Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts.
Exactly. They've both been trying to replicate the TikTok magic for a while now.
Yeah, they have.
And if TikTok disappears from the U.S. market, you can bet they'll be ramping up their efforts to attract those users. They'll be throwing money at creators, rolling out new features, doing everything they can to become the next big thing.
It's like a social media arms race.
It is a high-stakes game, for sure.
With everyone just scrambling to capture the attention of TikTok's massive user base.
Yeah, and it's not just about individual apps competing against each other.
Oh, okay.
There's also this whole new wave of decentralized social media platforms emerging.
You mean like Bluesky, the Twitter alternative?
Exactly. Bluesky is built on this decentralized model where users have more control over their data and how the platform is run.
Yeah.
It's a very different approach to social media.
So it's not just a battle between individual apps anymore.
No.
It's like a clash of philosophies about how social media should work.
It is.
How data should be handled, who has the power.
And that's what makes this whole situation so fascinating.
Yeah,
We're not just talking about which app will be the most popular.
Right.
We're talking about the future of online interaction.
Yeah.
How we connect with each other in the digital age, and who gets to control the platforms we use.
And as users, we have a role to play in shaping that future.
We do.
It's not just about passively consuming content.
Yeah.
It's about being informed, making conscious choices about the platforms we support.
Right.
And using our voices to advocate for a more open, equitable, and user-centric online world.
Well said. We need to be mindful of the power dynamics at play,
Yeah.
the implications of data collection, and the potential consequences of a fragmented internet.
Right.
Because ultimately, these decisions will shape the internet for years to come.
We're living in a pivotal moment, folks.
We are.
The decisions made today will determine the course of online culture for generations to come.
Yeah.
But before we get too existential,
Okay.
let's shift gears a bit and talk about the creators themselves.
Okay.
After all, they're the ones who make these platforms come alive.
That's a great point. The creators are the heart and soul of any social media platform.
Like-
Without them, it's just an empty shell.
So let's dive into how this whole TikTok RedNote saga might impact the people who are actually creating the content we all love.
Sounds good to me.
All right, deep divers. We're back and ready to tackle like the final piece of this RedNote puzzle. The creators.
You know, we've been talking a lot about like the platforms themselves, the potential ban, the features.
Right.
But it's easy to forget that these platforms are powered by people.
Yeah.
Real people who pour their creativity and time and energy into making the content that we all enjoy.
So let's put ourselves in their shoes for a minute.
Yeah.
For TikTok creators in the US, this whole situation must feel incredibly unsettling.
Absolutely. They've built their careers, their communities, their whole online identities on this platform.
Right.
And now it's all up in the air. If the ban goes through, they could lose their audience, their income, and their creative outlet literally overnight.
That's got to be a heavy weight to carry.
It is.
It makes you wonder, what are their options?
Yeah.
Can they just seamlessly migrate over to RedNote and pick up where they left off?
It's definitely not a simple switch.
Right.
Building a following on any social media platform takes time and effort and a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that a TikTok creator with millions of followers will find the same level of success on RedNote,
Right.
even if their content is amazing.
It's a whole new audience.
Yeah.
A different algorithm, a unique platform culture.
Right.
It's not just about uploading the same videos and expecting the same results.
Yeah, exactly. And RedNote has like a distinct vibe, a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
What works on TikTok might not resonate with RedNote users.
Right.
Content creators might need to adapt their style, their format, even their entire persona to fit in with RedNote's aesthetic.
It's like they're entering a whole new world
It is.
with different rules and customs and languages.
Yeah,
And that can be a daunting prospect, especially when you're already established on another platform.
for sure. Which is why many creators are hesitant to put all their eggs in the RedNote basket.
Okay, so they're exploring other options.
They're hedging their bets, so to speak.
So what are they doing? What are some of the strategies?
Well, some creators are diversifying their presence.
Okay.
They're experimenting with US-based alternatives like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts,
Okay.
trying to build a following on multiple platforms, just in case.
So it's like creating a safety net.
Exactly, spreading their content across different platforms so they're not reliant on any single one.
Makes sense.
And some are even venturing into the world of decentralized social media like Bluesky,
Oh, well,
which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
These platforms offer a different kind of freedom and control,
yeah.
which is appealing to some creators who are wary of the power that big tech companies wield.
So we're seeing this fragmentation of online communities
Yeah,
with creators and users scattered across multiple platforms.
right. And that raises some really interesting questions about the future of online culture.
It does. Will we still see those viral trends that sweep across the internet,
Yeah.
uniting people from different backgrounds around a shared experience?
It makes you wonder, or will we end up with a more fractured online world
Yeah.
where people are siloed into their own little echo chambers, consuming content that only reinforces their existing beliefs?
It's a real possibility.
It is, and it's something we need to be mindful of as we navigate this evolving digital landscape.
Because the internet's true power lies in its ability to connect people, right?
It does, to spark conversations,
Yeah.
to expose us to different perspectives.
If we lose that interconnectedness,
Yeah.
if we become isolated in our own little bubbles, we risk losing something truly valuable.
We do.
And it's not just about the fun viral trends.
No.
It's about the potential for positive social change, for meaningful dialogue, for bridging divides and building understanding.
Exactly. The internet has the potential to be a force for good in the world.
Yeah.
But to harness that power, we need open, diverse, and interconnected online spaces.
Right.
Where people can come together and share their ideas and connect with others from different backgrounds.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of TikTok RedNote and this ever-shifting landscape of social media, we want to leave you with this thought. Don't be a passive bystander in this digital revolution.
Be an active participant.
Engage in meaningful conversations. Seek out diverse perspectives. Support creators who are pushing boundaries and building bridges.
And most importantly, use your voice, advocate for a more open, inclusive, and interconnected internet, because the future of online culture is in our hands.
It really is. And it's up to us to shape it into something we can all be proud of. That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting. Until next time, stay curious.